6 cents out of a nickel thought of the day.
Everyone has someone in their lives who's quite literal. Usually it's small kids. They're literal because they're just learning about the world around them. For example, my stepson, when he was little, he used to have an aversion to me mispronouncing Little Caesars. I would always call it Little Sneezers, and he would just lose his mind about it because in his mind, it's like, you're saying it wrong. My dad also tried to mess with my daughter and say, you know, like, look, if you dig a hole deep enough, you make your way to China. And he had to quickly put a stop to that when my daughter asked for a bigger shovel. But they were both young kids at the time, so I mean, it's quite understandable that they're going to take things literally because they look up to us to give them the information that they need to navigate this world. But we all know some adults that also get kind of literal at times, and oftentimes it can be problematic. Usually as we get into our adolescent and adult years, we learn that life is a little bit more nuanced than the literal meaning of the words that make up the sayings that are around us. For example, my dad was 44 years my senior, so he was an older gentleman when I was a kid. So I got to hear a lot of old-time sayings that people don't use anymore. So then when I got with my current wife, she hadn't heard a lot of these sayings, so she's constantly asking, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? And she's trying to interpret as it goes along, and sometimes it's funny to see what she comes up with. And that's just an example of being literal due to ignorance, just not knowing. A good example of that is, you ever look up the word spendthrift. I bet you it doesn't mean what a lot of people think it means. A lot of people seem to think that spendthrift means I bet a lot of people think that spendthrift means a thrifty spender, and you would think that if you just literally picked it apart, spend and thrift, but it comes from an obsolete use of the word thrift, which actually means wealth. So it's literally spent wealth, and it actually means somebody who is quite loose and irresponsible with their money. Now, there's nothing wrong with not knowing. That's how we learn and grow, is, we learn things as we go along. And once you know, then you don't not know anymore, and you're not quite so literal. But some people, for whatever reason, have a little bit harder time with nuance, and, sometimes people do it just to be jerks about it.
Like the guy who stopped right in front of this stop sign in a fire lane in front of this bank. When someone approached him about it and told him he shouldn't be parked there, his response was quite flatly, yeah, but the sign said stop. Clearly the guy didn't want to walk across the parking lot, and I thought it was kind of funny, but the poor lady who told him really didn't think so.
And that's been more common in recent years, people using literal definitions or taking something literally in order to twist reality to their own liking. And that's where it becomes harmful. But for most people, it's not that way. Oftentimes they just don't know or don't have the frame of reference they need in order to make this whole thing make sense. So if you encounter someone who's overly literal, try to figure out why they're literal. Are they trying to make a point? Do they just not know? You may have to retrace your steps and explain it to them. The hardest part is you may have to choose your words a little more carefully from there on forward, so that they don't get confused or whatnot. And as always be generous with your interpretation and don't always assume the worst. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.
If you found this video helpful, please like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for more content. Thank you very much. Until next time.